Hello and welcome to our podcast on building English fluency in just 10 minutes a day. I'm Emma, and with me today is Max. We're super excited to talk to you about ways to improve your English fluency, even if you're short on time.
Hi everyone. Yes, 10 minutes may sound like a small amount of time, but if you use it right, it can make a big difference. We'll show you some simple methods that you can do daily. Each idea takes only a few minutes, but will help your English improve step by step.
Exactly. Let's start by talking about why only 10 minutes can help. See, when you do something every day, even for a short time, it sticks with you. It's all about creating a habit. So, if you can spend just a few minutes with English each day, it starts to feel easier and more natural.
Right, and it's less overwhelming. Many people feel they need hours to study, but that's hard to keep up with. Instead, 10 minutes is manageable, even on busy days. Let's dive into a few techniques you can use.
Yes, let's get into it. One of my favorite tips is shadowing. It's a speaking exercise where you repeat what you hear in English, trying to copy the sounds, words, and even the rhythm of the speaker. For example, if you're watching a short video or listening to a podcast, you repeat the phrases you hear right after. This is great because it helps with pronunciation, intonation, and fluency all at once.
That's a good one, Emma, and shadowing doesn't have to be difficult. You can start with short phrases or sentences. You'll notice how quickly you improve when you practice daily. And it's like having a mini speaking class every day.
Absolutely, and another idea for using your 10 minutes is to focus on new vocabulary. Just one new word a day can make a big difference. Look around your home or wherever you are and think about things you don't know the name for in English. Or if you see a word you don't know in a book, write it down. Then, during your 10 minutes, try using that word in a sentence. This will help you remember it better.
Good point, Emma, and you don't have to learn 10 words at once, just focus on one. Try using that word throughout the day whenever you can. Maybe write it down on a small paper or put it as a note on your phone. If you use the word, it will become natural to you.
Yes, and that's the key. The more you use English in small ways, the more comfortable you'll feel. Another fun tip is to think in English. I know it sounds simple, but it's powerful. If you're looking at your coffee in the morning, think, "This is my coffee." I love coffee in English. Or when you're planning your day, do it in English in your mind.
Thinking in English is really effective. You're practicing English without even saying anything out loud. And it helps your brain switch to English mode, so when you do speak, the words come to you faster.
That's true. Thinking in English is like training your brain. And if you don't know a word, don't worry. You can try to describe it with the words you do know. That's also a great practice for fluency.
Exactly. Speaking of practice, short conversations are another excellent way to use your 10 minutes. If you have a friend who's also learning English or a native speaker you know, try a quick conversation. You could talk about what you did today, something you learned, or even just ask each other questions.
Yes, and if you don't have anyone to talk to, you can talk to yourself. It sounds funny, but it works. You can describe what you're doing as you're doing it, like now I'm cooking pasta, or I'm cleaning my room. It gives you practice with common verbs and daily vocabulary.
Self-talk is a great idea, and it helps with confidence too. Another thing that's really useful is listening practice. You can find a short podcast, news clip, or video that you enjoy. Listen to it for a few minutes and try to understand as much as you can. The more you listen, the more your ear gets used to English.
Yes, and even if you only understand some words, that's okay. Listening every day will help you hear common words and phrases, and it's a nice way to learn pronunciation.
Also, don't forget about reading. Just a few minutes of reading can introduce you to new words and sentence structures. Choose something simple like a news article or a story you're interested in. You don't have to understand every word, just try to get the main idea.
Good point, Max. Reading is really helpful. and it can be fun, too. And to make it easier, try reading out loud for a few minutes. It's like reading and speaking practice in one.
That's a great tip. So, shadowing, learning a new word, thinking in English, short conversations, listening, and reading are all ways you can use 10 minutes a day. These activities might seem small, but they're powerful.
Yes, each small step builds up over time. The key is consistency. With just 10 minutes a day, you'll see progress, and English will start to feel more natural for you.
All right, so let's keep going with more ideas on how to build English fluency with just 10 minutes a day. Emma and I are going to talk about some more specific ways to make those few minutes feel even more powerful.
One idea I really like is keeping a daily English journal. I know, it sounds like something that takes time, but remember, it can be as short as a couple of sentences. You don't have to write long stories or essays. Just pick one small thing that happened in your day and write about it in English. It could be something simple like, "Today I went to the store," or "I watched a great movie."
Yes, writing even just a sentence or to each day is so helpful. Not only does it help you practice forming sentences, but it also gives you a record of your progress. After a few weeks, you can look back and see how much you've written. Plus, writing makes you think about the words and structure, which helps with memory and fluency.
Exactly, Emma. And here's the cool part. Your daily journal can be about anything you like. Maybe you write about a new word you learned or how you feel about something. The key is that it's your own practice, so you're not worried about being perfect.
Another technique that's really helpful is using flashcards. Flashcards are a great way to review new vocabulary or phrases. You can make your own by writing the word on one side and the meaning or translation on the other. And here's the best part, you only need a few minutes to go through them.
Flashcards are awesome. You can carry a few with you, or even use an app on your phone, and review them whenever you have a little free time, maybe while waiting in line or during a coffee break. And you're right, Max, they're perfect for learning vocabulary because you can go over them quickly and keep saying the same words until they really stick.
Absolutely, and once you feel confident with a word, you can try to use it in your daily journal or in your thoughts throughout the day. The more you use a word, the better you remember it. It's all about finding little ways to keep English around you.
Speaking of keeping English around you, another idea is to change the language on your phone or your social media to English. This is a small change, but it really helps because you'll be seeing English words and phrases more often, even in everyday activities like checking messages or browsing online.
Good one. Emma, when your phone or apps are in English, you're constantly reading in English without even thinking about it. It's like bringing English into your life in a natural way. And don't worry, if you feel lost, you can switch it back. But the challenge can be really helpful for picking up common words and phrases you use every day.
Yes, it's like adding a little English to things you already do. And another great activity to try is reading English news headlines. You don't need to read a full article, just look at the main headlines. This way, you'll learn about current events and pick up new vocabulary at the same time.
That's a great idea, and if a headline interests you, you can read a little more about it or even look up some words if you don't understand. It's another way to stay engaged with English without spending too much time. Just a few headlines can be a fun, quick way to practice every day.
Right, Max. And for people who like music, listening to English songs is a fantastic way to practice, too. Just play a song and listen carefully to the lyrics. You can try to understand the words or even look up the lyrics if you want to follow along. It's a fun way to hear English, and songs often repeat words, which helps with memorization.
Listening to music is one of my favorites because it's relaxing and doesn't feel like studying at all. And sometimes, if you find a song you really like, you might even want to sing along. Singing helps with pronunciation and makes the words stick in your mind. Plus, it's a good way to learn casual English expressions.
Totally agree. Songs are full of phrases people actually use. Another fun idea is watching short English videos, like on YouTube. You don't need to watch a long video. Even a 5-minute clip is perfect for practicing listening skills. Pick a topic you enjoy, like cooking, travel, or sports, and just watch for a few minutes.
That's a good one. Emma, you can find videos on any topic you're interested in, and sometimes it's easier to understand because you can see what the person is talking about. Plus, if you use subtitles, you can read along, which helps with understanding.
Definitely. And if you're up for it, you could even try making your own short videos in English. You don't have to post them online, just record yourself talking for a minute about your day or something you enjoy. It's a great way to get comfortable speaking and to see how much you improve over time.
Yes, that's a great idea, and no need to be perfect. Just talk naturally, like you're having a conversation. You'll be surprised at how much this helps with confidence and fluency. And the more you do it, the easier it will become.
Another small tip is to practice English with descriptions. When you look at things around you, try describing them in English. For example, if you see a park, think to yourself, there are tall trees, green grass, and children playing. This simple exercise helps you practice vocabulary and makes English part of your everyday thoughts.
That's a good one, Emma, and it's such an easy thing to do, anywhere, anytime. Just a few words or phrases can help you remember common vocabulary and improve your fluency. It's like turning your surroundings into a mini English lesson.
And another thing you can try is repeating what you hear on TV shows or movies. If there's a scene you like, you can pause and try to say the line yourself. Try to match the tone and speed of the speaker. It's another form of shadowing, but with dialogue, which makes it fun.
Yes, it's like acting practice, and it's really helpful. It can even be a fun challenge to sound just like the character. This way, you practice intonation and speaking speed, which are both important for fluency.
Right, and for a final idea, how about joining an English learning app or website where you can connect with other learners? There are so many online groups, apps, or websites where people are learning English just like you. You can chat with them, ask questions, or even practice speaking.
That's a great idea, Emma. Practicing with other learners is less intimidating, and you can learn together. Sometimes you'll find people with the same level, which makes it easier to practice without feeling too nervous.
All these little tips work best if you keep using them. 10 minutes a day might feel short, but by using different methods, you're building habits that will make English feel more natural.
So, now that we've gone through all these ideas, let's dive even deeper. For anyone who wants to really boost fluency, remember it's not just about the activities themselves, but how we use them. Small changes to your approach can make a big difference. So, Emma and I are going to share a few more tips to make these practices as effective as possible. One powerful method is to focus on one specific topic or theme for the day. Instead of switching between random topics, pick a theme like food, travel, or hobbies and try to keep everything related to that theme. So, if you're doing a journal entry, flashcards, or even watching videos, keep them connected to that theme. This way, you'll see the same vocabulary and phrases again and again, and they'll start to stick.
Absolutely, Max. That's a great idea because it builds connections between the words. So, let's say your theme is travel. You could write in your journal about a place you'd like to visit, look up some travel-related vocabulary, and even watch a travel vlog. This way, you're repeating similar language, which helps you remember it faster.
Exactly, and this works well for beginners and intermediate learners because you're not overwhelmed with too many different words. When you're focused, you'll naturally get more comfortable with the vocabulary you're learning. Plus, you'll feel like you really know something at the end of the day. Another thing to try is visualizing words and phrases in your mind. For example, if you're practicing food vocabulary, close your eyes and picture each word. Imagine the colors, textures, and maybe even the taste. Visualization helps us remember things better because our brains love images.
Yes, visualization is amazing. The more senses you involve in your learning, the more memorable it becomes. So if you're learning words like apple or coffee, really imagine holding it, smelling it, or tasting it. You're engaging your brain in a way that goes beyond just reading or listening.
And for people who like to get moving, try combining English with a physical activity. For example, if you're walking, think about what you see in English. You could describe the street, the people, or the weather. Physical movement actually helps your brain focus, so this can be a nice break from traditional study.
That's a fun idea, Max. I like the idea of making English practice part of a walk or a daily activity. Even something simple like describing what's around you helps you get used to thinking in English. And thinking in English is one of the best ways to build fluency.
Speaking of thinking in English, let's talk about self-talk. It might feel a bit strange at first, but talking to yourself in English is super helpful. Just say a few sentences about what you're doing. Like, now, I'm making coffee or I'm going to the store. You're practicing forming sentences and getting comfortable with the language.
Self-talk is a great idea, Max. And you're right, it might feel a little silly at first, but it's just practice. Plus, no one has to hear it but you. You can use this time to try new words or practice pronunciation. It's also a great way to reinforce confidence because you're just practicing without any pressure.
Exactly, Emma, and for anyone who's looking to improve their pronunciation, try focusing on specific sounds in English. For example, you could spend a few minutes practicing the TH sound, like in this or thank. Many English sounds don't exist in other languages, so giving yourself time to practice them helps with fluency and makes you sound more natural.
Yes, and you don't need to practice every sound at once. Just pick one or two that you find difficult. Spend a few minutes focusing on them. You could even look in a mirror to see how your mouth moves or listen to recordings to help. Over time, this practice really adds up.
And if you're into reading, try reading out loud. It's a fantastic way to work on fluency because you're speaking and reading at the same time. Start with something simple, a short story, an article, or even a social media post. It's a double practice for both pronunciation and reading skills.
That's a great point, Max. Reading out loud makes you pay attention to each word. And if you come across a word you don't know, you can look it up. Over time, this habit improves both your speaking skills and vocabulary. Plus, it gives you more confidence in speaking English because you're used to hearing your own voice.
Another technique that's useful is paraphrasing. Let's say you've read a short paragraph or listened to something. Try to explain it in your own words. This shows you really understand what you've read or heard, and it's a fantastic way to practice forming sentences.
Paraphrasing is so useful, Max. It makes you think creatively with language, and it's especially good for building flexibility. You're not just memorizing, you're actually learning to communicate ideas in English. And it's something you can do with a friend or even by yourself.
Exactly, and for anyone who's working with a language partner, practicing this can make your conversations richer and more interesting. But if you're learning on your own, you could still record yourself paraphrasing and listen back. It's a great way to check how comfortable you're getting with English.
Speaking of language partners, another idea is role-playing situations. Imagine you're at a restaurant, in an airport, or shopping. You can practice these scenarios by talking out loud or even writing down a short dialogue. It's a fun way to prepare for real-life conversations.
Yes, that's a fantastic idea. Even if you're just role-playing by yourself, it helps you get ready for real situations. You could practice asking for directions, ordering food, or even introducing yourself. It's great practice, and it helps you feel more confident when you actually face these situations.
And another great tool is setting small goals each day. For example, you could set a goal to learn 3 new words or practice a specific phrase. Keep it simple and achievable so you feel successful every day. Even if it's just 10 minutes, achieving a small goal can be very motivating.
Yes, setting goals keeps you focused. You could keep a checklist and mark off each goal as you complete it. It's satisfying to see your progress, and it keeps you motivated to practice each day. Plus, it's a reminder that you're moving forward, even with a little time.
And for our last tip, let's talk about celebrating your progress. Learning a language takes time, so it's important to recognize all the little steps you're taking. Maybe you reward yourself when you learn a new word or complete a week of practice. Celebrate these wins because every step counts.
That's right, Emma. Learning a language isn't easy, and it's important to stay positive. By rewarding yourself, you keep it fun and enjoyable. You're not just learning English, you're building a new skill. So, take time to appreciate your effort. Even 10 minutes a day is something to be proud of.
Absolutely, Max. Every little bit of practice is getting you closer to fluency. And with all these tips, anyone can make progress by just adding a few minutes of English each day. It's all about making English a natural part of life.
Right, Emma. So, whether it's writing in a journal, reading out loud, or even talking to yourself, every small practice makes a difference. Remember, fluency doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen with consistency.
That's right, Max. Thank you all for joining us. We hope these tips help you feel confident in your journey to English fluency.
Yes, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you found this podcast helpful. Share it with your friends and family who are learning English too. The more, the merrier.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and remember, 10 minutes a day is all it takes to start seeing improvement. Goodbye, and happy learning.
Goodbye, and good luck with your English practice.